Hello, I'm Rez, and this is the long-awaited AMA or Ask Me Anything that I said I would do upon getting 1,000 subscribers. I'm now at 2,000, which thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I am so incredibly grateful, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and it's just kind of surreal to think about how, just even in December or something, I was like just watching videos by 40 and Josepher and Lids and lurking in streams and lurking in videos and not interacting with people at all. And now just being a part of the community, doing collabs with so many of these amazing content creators. I mean, just thinking about how that was just a few months ago is very surreal, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this community. Everybody's been so welcoming and so kind, and I have loved every second of it. And hopefully you guys continue to be entertained by my lack of self-control. But thank you all so much for the support. I'm so incredibly thankful. So now that I've hit 2K, I figured, okay, I have no excuse to finally do this AMA. I was originally going to split it up into 3 parts, but then I thought, no, I'll just do it in one video and separate by category and timestamp. So there are a few different categories, and if you care about one but not the other, I will leave the timestamps in the description box below so that you can just skip to the topic that you want. So without further ado, I will go ahead and jump in. Alright, so first category is DFFOO, of course, and this question is, what character would you like to see them add to the game most? Which is, I think, one of the most common questions I got. So besides Nanaki and Riku, who I know everybody wants in the game, I was just doing the Chaos for the Awakening Wave 10, and I used an FF16 since I got Shadow and maxed him, and it was amazing. And I was using Setzer and Leo and realized that there's no proper full support character in FF6, and I feel like that's what the roster is missing. Setzer's utility and Leo's heals ended up working just fine in that Chaos. It was super fun. But if there were to be a full support character in FF6, I think that would be Mog, with all his different dances and stuff. So I think it would be very cool to have him in the game. It would be interesting to see him interact with actual DFFOO Mog, but that would be very cool to see. I think it would be very cool to see Meduin, but I was thinking about it, and maybe not as a character, but as an Esper, as a summon that you could get, along with Anima. Anima would be a very cool summon for it to do, because even though I hate Seymour, I do really like Anima. And then finally, I've been playing a lot of 7 Remake the last couple weeks. It's been amazing, and I would be remiss to not add Biggs, Wedge, Jessie to my list of characters that I would love to see them add to DFFOO. And then, since they've added Reno and Rude, I think it would be really cool to add Sung. I have only seen him a little bit in the remake. I mean, his hair looks incredible, but I also watched through Crisis Core, and Angeal and Genesis would also be very, very cool to see in the game. I think Angeal already has art in the game. I'm not sure. I can't remember who told me about that, but I think those are the characters that I would be very excited to see. Oh, and Idea. Idea would be very cool. So yeah, those are the characters that I would be really interested in seeing. Who is my favorite character that I use in every battle? So I can't think of any one favorite, but I definitely try to use at least one of my favorites in each battle. So whether that be Celes or Terra or Lulu or Rosa, and now Shadow. or Setzer, or anybody from 6, honestly. I try to use them as much as possible, and it's been so fun using them in these different comps. I mean, Celes had her realization back in December, like early December, and I'm still using her to crush content. I'm having so much fun with it. What got you into DFFOO? So one of my friends pre-registered for it, and he was telling me about it, and he was so excited, but how he got me to actually take the plunge was he said, you can get Vivi as a character. So that ultimately did the trick, and I downloaded it, and it was awesome, and I never looked back. Okay, so this question is interesting, and I think it definitely shows how long I've been intending to do this AMA, because the question is, who is your March priority pull? Obviously, it is no longer March, it is May at the time of this recording, but I had answered these questions on text before actually recording this video, so I thought it was interesting to see how my answers have changed. So for who was my March priority pull, I had written Lulu hands down. And I'm also excited for Onion Knight, Yuri, Penelo, and Edge. And we all know how the polls went for that. Lulu, Onion Knight, Yuri, Penelo, I got relatively painlessly. Come on, gold. Edge was a bit of a sacrifice, took a bit of a toll.
Oh, wow.
But we ended up getting all of them. So I guess who is my May priority pull? That would have to be Aerith. I have become, like, I was already fond of Aerith, but I've become so much more fond of her. One, after playing the remake, they have given her so much more personality. She's so sassy, I love it. And after finally finishing watching Crisis Core. So I really, really want to get Aerith. I can't spend any gems, which makes me very sad, and I'm gonna have to really farm up summon board tickets, but I'm hoping that I can get her relatively painlessly. Oh my god, we got it! We got it! As for anybody else in May, I may throw a few tickets at Snow and at Jack. But I already have, I've already got Ramsa, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited for him, but I really, like, June and July are gonna be rough on ingots, gems, and tickets. So that, I'm gonna have to be, like, semi-disciplined. So this one, how many EXs do you have? I had already written down an answer for when I originally got this question, like February or March, and at that time I had 59 individual EXs and 13 dupes. And at the time I'd maxed 20 characters. So now, as of May 8th, I think, I have 75 individual EXs, I've got 22 dupes, and I've maxed 27 of them. Any basic recommendations for grinding? That would be 3-3 Yuna and put on some Netflix. Like, I know that, others have shorter animations. Like, I was a big proponent of using Setzer and just spamming Freeze Joker for a while, but like, when I'm working, my work is very admin heavy, it's very email heavy, so I'm typing a lot and I don't have time to keep going back and forth, so maxing Yuna, and I did use her for a DE fight, so it worked out, but maxing Yuna was one of the best decisions I ever made, because being able to farm that is just so, being able to auto farm is just so invaluable to me. Favorite team comps. So, like I said, I like using faves as much as possible. Some of them are meta, some of them aren't. But I love using Team Best Girls, which is Terra, Celes, and Rosa. But now I'm just trying to rotate in as many of my favorites as I can. I've really been enjoying fitting in Selfie to as many team comps as possible. She makes so many characters even more fun. So I've been using Selfie with Terra a lot, because now Terra with Selfie only needs one dual cast and one skill use to recharge her EX. So like basically the issue of her running out of Magicite stacks completely goes away, which is awesome. So I've really enjoyed using that. I mean, with Beatrix, I think now Beatrix only needs to use Holy Knight's Protection and then Thunder Slash to recharge Climb Hazard, which basically makes it infinite, and she can get that HP protect up so much faster, and it's amazing. And then obviously, like Selfie with Leo, we all know removing those speed passives and then just getting that cycle going. So I've been having so much fun with Selfie. Who are your upcoming priority pulls beyond? It used to be March, now I'll have May. So for March, I'd put super excited for General Leo, since FF6 is my favorite, and I've grown very fond of Galoof, even though I haven't played FF5, though I do really want to. I'd also written, I would say Paladin Cecil, but I think I'm going to be tokening him because I don't trust Vayne after what he did to me on his original banner. And then I also said that I was very excited for Beatrix's and Selfie's rework and realization, especially since I already had their EX. Let's reflect on how those pulls went. So I had to pity Leo.
Another pull battle with me and another pity for you. You're probably not going to want to do a round 3 with me, aren't you?
I got Galoof, at least along the way, so I didn't have to choose between pitying the two of them. Paladin Cecil, I should have just gone with tokens, but I didn't, and I spent way too many tickets on him. I mean, I don't want, dupe Vayne, but I really like Paladin Cecil. Okay, gold. What did I just say? So there we go. So upcoming priority pulls then beyond May. Definitely going to be going for Arciela, especially since she seems like a pretty budget support in that you don't need to invest too much in her. I will definitely be going for Keese. Is that how you pronounce his name? It would be great to get Cloud of Darkness as well, but beyond that, I don't think there's anybody else that I'm really going for. I know Garnet gets her realization in July. I've already got her EX, thankfully. I don't know if I'll go for tickets because of El Nacho, as Lids has said, since he's supposed to be pretty OP, but I'm not sure. I will have to see. What is your Opera Omnia guilty pleasure? So I'm not sure if this is referring to any guilty pleasure related to Opera Omnia or if it's related to in the game or something, but definitely pull videos. I love watching pull videos. That's what got me to start my channel in the first place. I loved watching other people's pull videos, and it seems like pull videos in general are just pretty popular across gacha games. So I was like, I'm pulling on these banners, might as well record them. So I love seeing and hearing people's reactions. In the game itself, I'd say my guilty pleasure is probably then getting costumes for characters that I love. That is the only money that I spend on this game. And I honestly have no issues spending money on the game because of how amazing it is, how great the devs are, and everything. I have zero issues with that. So, but I do limit it to costumes for characters that I love. So I've gotten costumes for Zack, Cloud, Garnet, Terra, Fran, and did I get someone else recently? I can't remember. I think that might be it. I'm probably forgetting someone, but that sounds like a lot of costumes. But I mean, I didn't start, the first time I ever spent money on this game was October 2019. So almost 2 years I was completely free to play. Oh, Tifa's costume. I've gotten Tifa's costume and Aerith's costume, and they're both amazing. What type of character do you prefer to play in co-ops? So I think it depends on the co-op. Sometimes I really like playing a support or a tank, but I think The one that I have the most fun with is probably DPS, especially like if I've just gotten an EX, maxed it out and everything. I love just like trying it out in co-op, which I know is exactly the point of co-op, so that people can see other maxed characters, other maxed units, and want to go for them on the banner. But yeah, that's probably where I have the most fun. Are there any EXs that keep evading you no matter how hard you go for them? Not right now, I guess. So I never ever pulled Cloud. Not on any of the banners that he was on. Like I tried getting him on the Start Dash banner. I spent too many gems on that. I tried getting him on the banner with him and Vincent when Realization first came out. I was unsuccessful on that, which I was really pissed about because the sum of the gems that I spent on the Start Dash banner and the Vincent banner, I could have easily pitied him, but I ended up having to get Cloud using my DE tokens, whatever the EX token shop was before that. But I guess it worked out since I would have spent those tokens on Ishtola anyway, but then I ended up getting her in 5k gems when she came out with Elise, like after the free multi. So it worked out, but I literally still have never pulled a Force Stealer, even on the most recent banner with him, Tifa, and Aerith. I was trying to go for Aerith again, I got 4 Tifa EXs and like 50 tickets instead. Speaking of which, Aerith, I've tried getting her on the last couple banners that she was on. I can't remember if she's had 2 or 3, but I haven't gotten her despite the number of tickets that I've put into it, and so I'm really hoping that it changes with the Diabolos banner that's coming out in a few days. Who are you most looking forward to debuting in Opera Omnia? So I'm actually very much looking forward to Strago. As many of you know, FF6 is my favorite in the series, and Strago is no exception. And especially because I think that's when Realm's Realization gets released, and she's supposed to be awesome. So I am super excited for both of them. I'm also very excited for Reno and Rude, especially playing 7 Remake and watching them there. So very excited. Okay, so now this is the Final Fantasy portion of the AMA. What was your first Final Fantasy and how old were you? So the first one that I ever played was Final Fantasy III, followed closely by 4. I played those, I was 13 or 14 when I played 3, and I was 16 when I played 4. They were both the DS remakes. I never beat either of them. The first one I beat was 7. That was 3 years ago when I first started streaming on Twitch before I went on hiatus. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know about Aerith. And when people watched me play it and they saw my reaction, they're like, how the hell have you avoided one of the biggest video game spoilers in the last 20 years? And then I went from there to the other Final Fantasies. Best Final Fantasy. 6 is my absolute favorite by far. I love 6 so much. I've actually only played it once or twice. It would be really fun to play it again, like on stream or something. But I love sprite-based RPGs. I love the story. I love Terra. I love Celes. It's just such a fun game. I had so much fun with it. So 6 would have to be my answer here. Are you going to be playing 12 after 4? I have to finish my other Switch games, but after I finish my other Switch games, I would very much like to. So I don't think I'll be streaming it though, because I'll be playing it on Switch, and I think it'll be easier for me to just play it on my own. But I would also like to play 5, and since I'll likely have to do that on Steam, maybe I'll stream that. Favorite soundtrack or specific piece from the series? So my favorite soundtracks are probably from 4, 6, or 7. I am a big fan of boss music. So, Battle Against Golbez's 4 Emperors, Genova, Decisive Battle, all of those I really, Fight On, all of those I love. But I also love Cosmo Canyon, Price of Freedom, Antipyretic, Theme of Love, to Zanarkand, Eternity, Memory of Light Waves, even though I haven't played 10-2. But the first Final Fantasy piece I ever transcribed on the piano was actually the Lunarians from 4. What got you into Final Fantasy? So I've always been a JRPG fan, but I only had Nintendo systems growing up, so I didn't get to play until any of the DS remakes because I was also too young to play the SNES versions. So when the DS versions, when the DS remakes came out, I figured I'd give them a try since I knew how widely acclaimed Final Fantasy was. Which game first got you hooked on Final Fantasy or RPGs in general? 4 is what got me hooked on Final Fantasy. I had played 3 originally, but it was so frustrating. I couldn't do it. I stopped at the ghost ship. I couldn't get through it. But when I played 4, I loved it, and I got to the very end of the final dungeon and then didn't play it anymore. I think I explained that later, or maybe I don't, but I had started playing 4 when my family and I were on a road trip in Portugal in 2008, and I played all the way through when I was on the road trip, and then we got back home, and I had gotten to the final floor of the final dungeon, and I just forgot about it, and then finally a few months later I picked it back up so that I could finally beat the game, but I forgot how to play. And there's no escape rope that you can use there or anything, and every time I tried just fighting a regular enemy, I get killed because they're the little dragons that Golbez uses or whatever. So I never beat it. And so this stream that I'm doing of this stream playthrough that I'm doing of FF4, even though it's technically my second playthrough, I don't remember anything. Anything that I know about the game is from DFFOO. Let's see. And then, okay, so 4 hooked me on Final Fantasy, Pokemon hooked me on RPGs. I didn't become a straight up JRPG gamer until I played Tales of Symphonia when I was 12, 13 or something, which is still in my top 3 games of all time. What Final Fantasy games have you played, and which is your favorite? Which kind of goes into the earlier question. So yes, 6 is my favorite. I've played 3 and 4, and I've beaten and streamed 6 through 10. Really hoping that I will be adding 12, 5, and Tactics to the list very soon. All right, this one's a tough one. Personal top 10 favorite Final Fantasy characters. So it was hard coming up with this list, and I could not even put them in any sort of order. So Celes, Terra, Vivi, Kuja, Sephiroth, Tifa, Aerith, Lulu, Zack, Shadow, Setzer. I think that's 5. I think that's 11. Not, I didn't mean 5. I meant 10. I think that's 11. So we'll just go with that. But honorable mentions to Rosa. I can't even think of who else. I'm sure that once I play FF12, there will be a few added to this list. But as of now, these are my favorite characters. Why Tonberries? So it's funny because most people assume that I have the Tonberry as my kind of logo because I love them. However, in actuality, in my first playthrough of FF7, which I streamed on Twitch, I was doing the Golden Saucer battles in order to get Omnislash for Cloud, and you know how you have to do all of that in one sitting? You can't leave the arena, you have to do all of it, you can't save, you gotta do all of it in one sitting. And I was at the last round of battles that I needed, and I kept getting screwed over by RNG since there's the different slots and whatever. And so finally I got a decent RNG for slots, I didn't have too many things taken from me, and one of the enemies was a Tonberry, and it was the first one that I'd encountered, and I got absolutely shanked by it. Is that what it's doing? It just keeps getting closer and then fucks me up. Okay, I'm just gonna use Ultima. just shanked. Something similar happened when I tried again. Like, I did that last round of fights probably 7 times before I ended up actually getting decent RNG and being able to beat it, because the next time I tried doing it, I got the ghost ship or whatever that used Goanai or whatever to fling me off, because instead of using X Potion on the enemy, I accidentally used it on myself. There is also a Twitch clip of that where I am just devastated. I will also link that in the description box below.
I don't want to get, like, thrown out of this. X Potion? Okay. Hi! Thank you for joining. Joining at a slightly frantic moment. Okay, X Potion. Okay. No, shit! Shit! No! God damn it!
If you had to spend the rest of your life with one Final Fantasy character, who would it be and why? So I decided I'd split this into friendship and, overall long-term partnership. So for friendship, Tifa, I have loved everything about her in the remake, and I think she would just be somewhat like her Aerith. Like, sheer Aerith would be so much fun to hang out with and have as friends, and I would love that. I did consider using her as my answer for overall, partnership in general, but I think I would go with Zack. Zack just seems to have, the total package. He's goofy, he's strong, he's adorable, very passionate, etc. Can do squats for days. No, that doesn't really matter to me, but I think he'd be a really good long-term partner. I didn't really know how to answer this question. Okay, so this question I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but if you were suddenly brought into a Final Fantasy world, which world would you go to, would you end up in, and why, and what would be your character class? So probably FF10 world post-Sin would be the one that I would want to go to the most out of all the ones that I've played. Death World or Dark World in FF6 is certainly tempting. Just kidding. But so FF10 world post-Sin, and I would 100% be a black mage. I would do that distance DPS casting, no question, black mage. All right, this is the video game, the general video game portion of the AMA. Are there any other games that you would like to play? So, like I've said, I would love to play FF12 once I beat all the other games on Switch that I need to, namely Fire Emblem Three Houses, Octopath Traveler, Pokemon Sword, and Tales of Vesperia. I also have been loving the FF7 remake that I've been playing off stream. It is amazing. I would love to play FF5 and Tactics as well. So I'll have to see. And then for games that aren't Final Fantasy that I'd like to play, I'm trying to think. There are several, but I never ended up, I always wanted to play Ni no Kuni. I bought it 4 years ago when I bought a PS3 because I really wanted to play Tales of Symphonia again. And I got Ni no Kuni for really cheap, but I never actually played it, and now I think there's a new remaster on the Switch or something, so I'm not sure. But for Final Fantasy, I'd love to play 5, 12, and Tactics. What was your first game or console experience? So there are a couple. One, my family has a house in Vermont that we would go up to with our extended family and all my cousins and stuff. And my cousins on my dad's side of the family are a little bit older. So we would go there, and there was a family SNES, and so we weren't allowed to play it, but I watched my cousins playing Super Mario Bros. And every time I got to, level 7-4 or whatever, 7-8, I don't even remember exactly what it is, but any Bowser level, I would get so scared and I'd just be cowering over in the corner. So that was my first experience ever with a console, but first actual game experience in my hands. I was 6 years old. Red and Blue had just come out, and we were at my cousin's house, and I guess on my mom's side of the family. I guess I was being annoying because one of them gave me their Game Boy with Pokemon Blue in it and told me to go play it in the corner, so I did. Apparently I started a new game, and I distinctly remember not knowing how to leave the house because I didn't realize that the mat was supposed to signify the exit, so I just chilled in the house. I was like, what is even the point of this game? And I had no idea what to do. I later, got my own version of the game and, learned how to play, and then that's when I became hooked. What other games do you like to play besides Final Fantasy? So I'm a big fan of the Tales series, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, Zelda, and I also really love the Ace Attorney series. I cannot wait for whenever they bring a new one, a new title to whatever game. I mean, a Switch game would be awesome since the last game that came out was still on 3DS. So I've been wanting to also replay. But those are the other series that I really like. There are probably other series that I'm just totally forgetting. But Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time. I also really, really enjoyed Chrono Cross. But yeah, Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time. Pokemon Gold and Tales of Symphonia are the other two in the top 3. Life is Strange. Bay or Bay? Bay all the way. I'm sorry, Arcadia Bay, but I gotta go with my blue-haired girl. Who's your favorite and least favorite villager in Animal Crossing? So this is tough, but my favorite villager, the Midge, who's like a little pink bird, she was one of my very first villagers in the original Animal Crossing on GameCube, and she moved away one day and I was devastated, and I haven't been able to get her back since, so I'm really, really trying to get her in on my island in New Horizons, so we will see how that goes. One of my residents just moved out, so I'm gonna go see if anybody I know has Midge that's moving out, and we'll try. I also really love Bo, who's a deer, Fauna, who's a deer, Eric, I didn't know before New Horizons, but he is now one of my favorites. He moved onto my island after I found him on one of the Nook Miles deserted island tickets. He's a moose and I love him, and no one is allowed to harm him ever. He's my favorite. And then I also love Broccolo. Broccolo is a blue mouse with a little bowl cut, and he's so precious, and I love him. But I also love Alfonso, Rosie, Goldie. There's so many villagers that I love. I wouldn't say I have a least favorite villager. I feel like all of them are lovable. There is one that I will call out, Limburg, and the main reason for that is because he was a villager in my cousin's first town on GameCube, and no matter what they did, he would never move out. I guarantee that if we were to turn on, insert that memory card and turn on and visit their town today, he would still be there. He would not have moved, and we just could never ever get rid of him. Who is your starter Pokemon of choice? Easy, Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is by far my favorite starter Pokemon. I don't care that, Charmander and Squirtle are more popular. Bulbasaur will always have my heart. And it's number one. It's number one in the Dex. That's got to count for something. And then, who were my starter Pokemon in all the games? So, Bulbasaur in Gen 1, Chikorita in Gen 2, Mudkip in Gen 3. I'm generally a water type. Mudkip in Gen 3. It wasn't Oshawott. Piplup in Gen 4. Oshawott in Gen 5. Fennekin in Gen 6. Poplio in Gen 7. And Sobble in Gen 8. Gotta love those water types. Okay, this is the channel section of the AMA. This is a question that I get a lot. How did you come up with the name Raspoina, or where is the name Raspoina from? So my favorite composer is Joe Hisaishi, who composes the soundtracks for the Studio Ghibli or Miyazaki movies. I've been playing the piano for about 21 years, and his pieces were some of the first I learned as a kid. When I was about 15, I discovered that he had piano solo albums outside of the Ghibli soundtracks, and I downloaded them all. I downloaded all the sheet music for them, and one of the pieces was called Respoina, and I just love the name. It's still one of my favorite pieces to play. I played it yesterday at my parents' house. It's still so much fun. I'll leave a link to it in the description box so that if you're curious, you can check it out. But the other thing is that most people, understandably, pronounce it Responia because, like, it doesn't seem like Respoina isn't exactly natural to say, but it's Respoina, or you can just call me Res. What got you into making YouTube videos? So, like I said in a previous question and answer, gacha vids, watching gacha vids is my guilty pleasure. I love that. I will put it on like when I'm doing laundry. I will put on gacha vids when I'm doing laundry, or like cleaning up or something, or just doing anything at all, like grinding in a video game, whatever. They are my guilty pleasure, and I love DFFOO, so I figured, why not record my polls? So this question isn't necessarily relevant anymore because I have come back to Twitch, but the original question was, why switch from Twitch to YouTube? So I know it doesn't seem like it, but I actually have a very low social energy threshold. I am an introvert by nature. I'm an extroverted introvert, but I'm an introvert, which many people have said surprises them that I have a low social energy threshold. I used to stream, when I first started streaming 3 years ago, I was streaming like 4, 5, 6 times a week, and it was just getting to be too much. Recording videos for 30 minutes or so and then uploading them later was much more conducive to my schedule. Like, it didn't rely on me always being online. Like, as long as I put the video out there, it could be available for someone to see. And also, to be totally honest, I didn't really have that many followers on Twitch, even after 2 years, because of how inconsistent I was. So when I did stream, I barely had an audience. And so since I didn't really have an audience, it was hard to keep up the motivation. But because I didn't, just stream consistently, but because I wasn't streaming consistently, I wasn't building an audience. So it was, a little bit of a cycle. But I am, I think streaming on Twitch about once a week is like the perfect amount of time for me, just because my job, which I'll explain later, is pretty like social energy heavy. So I reach my limit pretty quickly, but it's been so much fun streaming with all of you guys joining, and it's been awesome. So hopefully you guys continue to show up to the streams. Where did you get the cool shirts you were on camera? So I'm not wearing one of those cool shirts today. I decided to look like a real person and put on like actual clothes that weren't pajamas, but I usually get those shirts as, some of those shirts were given to me as gifts, like the Tom Berry 9999 shirt. Most of them I actually got from Redbubble or Etsy. So there's some really cool prints on there that you can get as like a poster, coaster, anything, like a pillow, canvas, anything. So I've just gotten a bunch of them on a shirt. I actually just bought myself a very cool FF7 Cactuar shirt and another FF7 print that I'm excited to hang up. I really like shirts that are very clearly a reference to something without actually saying like what it's from, like my Chrono Trigger shirt that says Luca's Repair. It doesn't say Chrono Trigger anywhere on there, but anybody who has played Chrono Trigger will know what that shirt is from. So I love those kinds of shirts that are just like subtle but also really cool. Do you have any plan to do other content besides Final Fantasy, like Kingdom Hearts, or something completely random? So the other game that I play, the other mobile game I play, is Fire Emblem Heroes. And since I wrote down my initial answer for the question, I actually have recorded a bunch of videos for it, but actually editing the videos would require me to use Adobe Premiere, which is also why it's taken me so long to actually get this AMA out there, because I would need to learn how to use Adobe Premiere in order to get this AMA out there and edit it properly, and I've just been procrastinating learning. So I have recorded a bunch of Faye videos, and I just haven't edited them, but I figured I'd give it a shot, since what I'm mainly known for is another mobile game, pull vids. But I've thought about maybe making like compilation TLDR vids of like my first playthroughs for some Final Fantasy games, but that would also be a lot of work, and I don't know if like it would be worth it. I don't know if the ROI, which like I hate that term, but I have to use it at work all the time. I don't know that it would be worth it. I do want to diversify my content a little bit, so if you have ideas whether or not they're DFFO related, let me know. All right, so this is the section of AMA that got the most questions by far, and this is about my own personal life. So first question, you drink a lot. Do you smoke cigars? No, I hate the smell of cigars. I hate the smell of cigarettes. The only thing that I smoke is narguilé or hookah, and I used to smoke a lot of it, like a lot in college. But I stopped a few years ago, and now I only smoke like a couple times a year, like once or twice. But yeah, I hate cigars, I hate cigarettes, like I don't smoke anything else besides narguilé. And if you're curious about the best narguilé flavor, that would be grape with mint, or anabunana in Arabic, from the brand Al-Fahir. Yes, it's pronounced Al-Fahir. I've heard a bunch of different pronunciations over the years. It's Al-Fahir. What got you into whiskey? So when I was in college, I ordered a whiskey sour because the ingredients looked interesting, and then I experimented from there. So I started with whiskey sours. I started like making my own, whiskey drinks, and then I moved to old fashions, and then from there I moved into just straight whiskey. What kind of whiskey do you prefer? So I would say in order bourbon, then scotch, then rye. I like drinks that are on the sweeter side, which is probably why bourbon is my favorite. As for specific brands, I really like Woodford Reserve for bourbon and Kavalan for scotch, mainly because I can afford them. But my dad also really likes single malt and has some very nice bottles at my parents' house. But he only breaks them out when we have like guests over, so I always make sure that I am there whenever my parents are hosting someone, because my dad will inevitably break out the single malt. What is your favorite drink or mixed drink? So favorite drink, whiskey. Mixed drink would have to be a tie between old fashioned, margarita, and a paper plane, which is equal parts whiskey, Amaro Nonino, Aperol, and lemon juice. I also make a mean margarita, best margarita recipe, 2 parts tequila, 1 part Cointreau, Grand Marnier, whatever, 1 part agave, 1 part lime juice, mix it all together, top off with seltzer. Delicious. It's a very strong, but it's very delicious. Where are you from? I am from the Northeast in the USA, and that is as specific as I will get. What is your ethnicity? This is a question that I'm sure some of you can imagine I get a lot, just both online and IRL. So my mom is Italian American. My dad is ethnically half Lebanese, half Chinese, raised in Beirut during the Civil War. However, my Chinese grandmother is from Trinidad, yes, in the Caribbean. So she's like this tiny tan little Asian woman with a British Caribbean accent. It is wild. And then I went to a French school growing up. So it was, I had a lot of identity crises when I was younger. And yes, I know that I don't look Chinese at all, but I promise I was a very Chinese baby. And I started saving a picture on my phone to show people whenever they doubted that I was Chinese, because even if I'd show them a picture of me with my grandmother, they like still wouldn't believe it. So I've got a baby picture of me where I look very, very Chinese. What is your secret for your smile? So my dad is actually a dentist. So I was kind of his guinea pig when I was growing up for new treatments and procedures, which I realize sometimes that I'll say that without providing the context that my dad is a dentist, and I would really weird people out. But people always say, "Oh my gosh, you have the same smile as your mom." I'm like, Thank you, except hers is natural. She has never had any work done on her teeth. Meanwhile, I had years and years and years of dental work done. And I'm very grateful because I really like my smile. But do not think that I had this naturally. What are your favorite TV shows and music? So my favorite bands are probably Incubus and Muse. I've seen them both live so many times, and I've met Incubus a bunch of times. Like, they're my favorites. I've got other favorite bands and songs and everything, but those are the two that have been consistent throughout the years. Favorite non-anime shows are probably Scrubs, Arrested Development, Friends, The Office, Parks and Rec, Archer, Community, like a lot of the typical sitcoms. I've been watching a lot of Kim's Convenience, which is on Netflix, and it is hysterical. Just like, if you even have one parent that is an immigrant, like even if they're not Korean, which like my dad's not Korean, even if you have one immigrant parent, the struggle is so real. It's so relatable, and I love that show so much. It's so funny. Favorite piano piece to play? So it changes. I still have so much fun with Genova from the Final Fantasy piano collections, just even years after learning it. It's still one of my favorite pieces to play. Brahms' Rhapsody in G minor for a classical piece, that's also one of my favorite pieces to play. Pavane pour une enfant défunte by Ravel is one of my favorite pieces to play when I'm just like trying to chill, along with Clair de Lune. And right now I'm learning a Beethoven Sonata Pathétique. That's a lot of fun to play when I've had a frustrating day at work, because I can just like bang out my frustrations. This is a question that I've also gotten a lot on Discord and YouTube comments and everything. What is your day job? So I work at a tech company as a hybrid like account manager / strategy consultant. So I manage about 150 corporate accounts and basically work with them on their strategy. So I am talking to people a lot during the day, and so that is why I end up having such a low social energy threshold by the end of the day. But the company is fantastic. It allows me to work from home whenever, which I do frequently, even before, COVID. This is sad for me to say, like based on, the answer that I gave in February and March, but every 5 years at my company, you get to take a month-long sabbatical and do whatever. It's paid, you get a little extra money on top of it, and my 5-year anniversary at my company was in April, so I was actually supposed to start my sabbatical a week ago on May 1st, and I was supposed to go to Japan 2 days ago on Wednesday, and obviously that didn't happen, so I've had to postpone my sabbatical indefinitely until whenever all this blows over. And it's such a first world problem, but I'm so sad that it had to get postponed. I was really looking forward to that Japan trip for a really, really long time. Anime top 5. So I would say FMA Brotherhood. Obviously, what kind of person would I be if I didn't include that in my top 5? 7 Deadly Sins, which I know is, for a lot of people, either you love it or you hate it. I love it. I love the characters. I know it can get a little much with the tropes and everything, but I still really enjoy it. The Fate series is, I know that there are several, but of those, probably Unlimited Blade Works. Attack on Titan, love it. I loved it even more after I watched it through a second time. I was showing my friend, and after watching it through after already having watched it through, watching it through the second time was very, very interesting, probably more enjoyable than the first time, but it was fantastic. And then finally, I would say Demon Slayer. Even though it's only been one season, I mean, it is so well done, and I showed it this is my second time watching it through. My dad, and I've shown it to my dad. We have one episode left, and my dad has been loving it, which is great. But whenever, like the first time that he saw Kibutsuji in the intro, he goes, "Why is Michael Jackson in this show?" And I didn't even realize it, but he does kind of look like Michael Jackson. But my dad was just so confused. He's like, "Why is Michael Jackson the villain?" and whatever. So. Honorable mentions for My Hero Academia, Dr. Stone, and Gurren Lagann. Top 5 anime villains. So this is tough because I've got some favorite villains and villains that I think were fantastic, but I'll take it as favorite villains. So Scar from FMA, love Scar. Love his redemption arc. He's fantastic. Lust, pride, envy, wrath, like they terrify me to this day, and I think they're fantastic villains. Let's see. Oh yeah, a lot of the 10 Commandments from Seven Deadly Sins, like Estarossa is terrifying to me. Even though we haven't really seen much of him in, you know, the Ten Commandments season, the few things that I have seen him in, I am terrified. But for the first season, Hendrickson, Dreyfus, and Gil, I was very excited. I really like them as villains. I like them even more as allies now, although Dreyfus still has to get there. And then Gilgamesh from Fate, also terrifying. Even though I know that Gil in Fate Zero is the Gil that was actually corrupted by the Grail. Let's see, Kotomine in Fate is one that I hate. I hate him so much, but he is a very good villain. He's a very good villain. And I think that was like way over 5, but those are probably my top 5. Oh, Akito in Fruits Basket. I'm a big like shoujo anime manga person. Like I grew up on shoujo. Akito still terrifies the hell out of me, and even now watching the reboot, like that still holds very true. What is your pet's name, and is there any meaning behind it? My pet's name is Teddy. And when we were thinking of names when we got him, we knew we liked the names Teddy and Bear, but we didn't want to call him Teddy Bear. We went with Teddy for the official name, but honestly, we probably call him Bear more often. You've traveled a lot. What was your favorite place to visit? So probably Lebanon for a bunch of reasons. Like I said, it holds a lot of history and memories for my family. My dad is from there, but growing up, we only visited it once on a big extended family trip since my dad's whole family fled during the Civil War in the 70s and 80s. I was supposed to go with my grandfather, my jiddo, in November of 2011, but unfortunately he passed away a month before we were set to leave. So my Christmas gift that year was my parents got me plane tickets to fly to Lebanon, and I went for the first time in 10 years, and I stayed with my 5th cousin who I'd met, like, this is a whole other story, but I'd met her, a few months ago through a mutual friend. We ended up becoming best friends and finding out, like, later that we were related. And then I lived there in Lebanon again summer of 2012. So even though, like, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about the region, Lebanon definitely does have its issues, especially right now, but I have very many fond memories of that place, and it's such an incredible, beautiful country with so much to offer. So once all this quiets down, if you've ever thought about visiting there, you 100% should. What martial arts have you practiced, and how long have you practiced them? So I've been practicing Taekwondo since I was about 8, and I've been a black belt for over a decade now. So like I said, my dad's half Chinese, and he and my grandma have always been big martial artists, mainly focusing on Kung Fu and Tai Chi, so we grew up learning those informally as well. My grandma taught me the fan form when I was in high school. That was a lot of fun. Do you watch MMA? I do not. I don't really have any interest in watching sports in general. The only sports I'll ever watch is like if the Olympics are on, I'll sometimes turn on gymnastics or ice skating depending on, the season, but I'm not really big into sports. Really couldn't care less. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? Oreo, hands down. I can't really have that much ice cream since I'm mildly lactose intolerant, but I have a weakness for Oreo ice cream 100%. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? So I would love to be able to time travel, but I also kind of believe that everything happens for a reason. Like, not in a cheesy way, but I try to believe that, to not lose faith in things. So I'd be very superstitious about undoing anything, except, like, I'm thinking about, gotcha purposes. Like, if I could just turn back time and opt not to spend those 100 tickets or whatever, which is sad that I'm thinking that there's part of me that's thinking of this in terms of DFFOO. But, yeah, I've thought a lot about this since it's a, big icebreaker question. I'd probably go with teleportation. I've got a lot of friends that are all over the world, and it's hard to visit them, even like pre-COVID, obviously, since airfare is expensive and I'd need to take a decent amount of time off. But with teleportation, I could just zip over for dinner or drinks or just like a weekend sleepover and be back whenever I needed to. What kind of hobbies do you have? Sleeping. Literally, although I have not been great at sleeping lately. But my other hobbies, video games, obviously, and piano. Like I said, I've been playing for about 21 years. I play, I do some composing, I do some arranging, I transcribe a lot of pieces. It's still one of my favorite things to do. I recently posted a video of my transcription and arrangement from the title screen for the original Animal Crossing on GameCube. So if you haven't checked that out already, please do. It's not great quality since it was, it's recorded from my phone at my parents' house, but it was one of the first pieces that I ever transcribed when I was like 10. So it was nice to give it a little bit of a facelift. I also used to sketch, but I haven't in a while, and I don't really have the time to get into it anymore, but here are a couple of the sketches that I've done. Favorite graphic novel or comic book? So this is tough. I grew up reading a lot of manga when I was younger, and honestly, I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard for me to say. For graphic novel, if we're excluding manga, I would have to say Watchmen. I loved that when it first came out. I think it was a junior in high school, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun to read. And then I've also got a few of the Marvel comics, mainly ones involving Loki, which brings me to another question, which is, who is your favorite fictional character just in general? And that would have to be Loki from Marvel, specifically the Tom Hiddleston version. I've got a weakness. Favorite moment from The Office? It's hard for me to choose just one moment, but I will say my favorite episode is the injury where Michael cooks his foot on a George Foreman grill by accident. That episode is just so genius in so many ways, and it was actually the first episode in the series that I ever saw when it was being shown to me. So I don't, it's, probably has a soft spot, but it's still one that makes me laugh so much. It's hard for me to watch cringe. So I know Dinner Party is a lot of people's favorite episode. Oh my god, it makes me cringe so much. Scott's Tots, cannot watch Scott's Tots, that subreddit, the fact that exists, amazing. But yes, the injury is probably my favorite episode. Favorite books and movies. Books, Lolita by Nabokov and Calvin and Hobbes, which I realize are two completely opposite ends of the spectrum, but yes, those are my, and Calvin and Hobbes obviously it's a collection of comics, and not or I guess that would be my favorite comic, would be Calvin and Hobbes. But yeah, I grew up reading Calvin and Hobbes, and it is my favorite. Lolita, I ended up writing my college essay on, along with a Joe Hisaishi piece, Nausicaa, piano solo, like the combination of the two together. But yeah, those are my favorite books. For movies, basically any of the Studio Ghibli movies. If I had to choose, if I had to choose just one, probably Princess Mononoke. And then for non-Ghibli, I'd say Catch Me If You Can, or let's see, a lot of Marvel movies, like original Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, lots of movies. Yeah, I would say those are probably my favorites. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that gave you a little bit of an insight into my life and my interests and whatever, if it's interesting to you. So thanks for your patience as I worked up the courage to make this video. Thank you again so much for 2,000 subscribers. It's amazing, and I'm so grateful. And if you have any other AMAs, feel free to join my Discord. There's a Res AMA channel in there where you can ask things, and maybe I'll do another AMA once I hit 3K subs, if that happens. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.